Hello, all my bottoms up babes. This is your soul master, Kerie, taking the messiness in life, mixing it up, finding the message, and serving it to you straight. Because healing isn't linear, it's layered, and sometimes the breakdown is just the beginning of your breakthrough. Here, we honor the ache, speak the life into silence, and give the broken pieces a place to belong. This is the space where truth meets tenderness, where your story is sacred and your scars are seen. So breathe deep, open up, listen up, and let the healing begin. In this powerful message of Bottoms Up, we open a crucial conversation about school safety, trauma, and healing. Today, our guest is Kimberly. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi.
And Kimberly shares a deep personal story experiencing traumatic events that happened at her college at Iowa City many years ago.
Not too many, though.
Kimberly has experienced some trauma when she was away at school, and it had shaped her in understanding how safety, resilience, and recovery is in the college world. So, Kimberly, tell us about your story.
Oh, man. I don't even know where to start. So I went to the University of Iowa. I was there for the full 4 years. And my senior year, I lived on campus in an apartment building. I was going through a breakup, so I was living alone. I was also working part-time at a CVS. I decided this Friday night that I was going to go out with my friends for a little bit, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to stay long because I had to work early the next morning at the CVS. So I went out for a few hours. I think it was in April, May, because the weather was starting to change. So I did have my windows open in my apartment, and I went out for a few hours to the bars, and came back maybe like 10:30. And as I was coming back, there was a man leaving my front door of my apartment, with my laptop and a bag of some of my stuff. And in that moment, I didn't even know like what to do or how to react. I went in like that fight or flight mode.
Wow, that's extreme. I mean, and you stated that you did notify the school, but they didn't take any extra like precaution or anything in that nature?
No.
With all of the school massacres, I mean, we just all saw the whole entire nation with the Charlie Kirk incident, and, that was on a school campus. I just feel that there should be such more extreme measures to keep students and faculty safe, throughout these school zones. And I know we were talking off camera, stating that they should almost make it like a compound where it's like all enclosed, and even though it's a city, but it's only for like the schools and stuff. Because now you, as an adult now and grown and having your own children, even though they're not in the college world yet, myself as a parent, I actually have one, 18, going to college soon, and it's troublesome, it's worrisome, because it could happen to anybody.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's no, extra preliminary caution it's bizarre to me, and especially how enticed the school shootings and things like that are.
Yeah.
Now, what would you state to someone that's in school right now and they maybe could be terrified, especially seeing all this stuff around, and it happens more frequently than, in our era when we were in school. It wasn't really that common, to incorporate or, encounter anything like that. But what would you say if it was, if it was me and I was going to college next year, what kind of advice would you give me to kind of steer away from situations like this?
Don't leave your windows open, for one. No, but definitely carry mace. Mace was a big one. If you could take self-defense classes just to be able to defend yourself, which is sad to say that like you have to be able to be on guard and to be, aware of your surroundings. But buddy system, don't be walking around at nighttime by yourself. So if you can, always have somebody with you. I know obviously that's not always possible. But just little things like that, and just always be aware of your surroundings and not, walking with your head in your phone like everyone does. And these are just things that I would tell my kids when they're, going off, or my niece and my nephews. You just always have to be on guard, which is so sad to say, but yeah.
I feel like, I mean, if you were to be a part of a security team, let's just say for people that have been trauma of college situations, just in general, if you were to be on some sort of like committee that addresses something to a school, what is something that you would suggest to them to make sure that children are safe?
I mean, just having more, at least when I went to school, at least having more security like around the campus. I don't remember ever seeing like security guards or policemen just patrolling, especially like on the weekends when, kids are off at the bars and there's a lot of partying and things going on. Like, I don't remember ever seeing like just like a secure place for students to go to if there was trouble, so I think just more patrol.
Now, I remember, and this was back in my college years, wasn't there always like someone that was in charge of like that, in your case, you lived in the apartment on campus, but like in the dorm rooms, wasn't there always like a head person or something? The RA. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, even if there was like an RA that specialized in public safety or ones that are going to school for like criminal justice or something like that, where they could even start that criminal justice like credit hours or something.
Yeah.
Eventually you need those hours.
Yeah.
So that would be a great way, to help others. I mean, and especially it's not even, God forbid if you were home, I mean, you could have been raped, you could have been, especially he was a sex offender, like clearly he would have had no second thought to probably do something in that nature. So you really do have to make sure that your surroundings and, you're always paying attention, especially when you're walking outside.
Yeah.
There is a very well-known murderer actually, and he's like in jail right now. It was like Gary something, and he had like a twin named Larry, and they were actually from like our neighborhoods.
Seriously?
And he was going, yes, there was like he murdered 2 kids from a campus of Indiana. The girl was like walking home from a convenient mart and never came back. So they're like, they fish, they like sit outside of that and sit in the in their van or whatever. It's like you think you see this stuff on the movies, but it's real. It's in real life. So you really have to make sure that you're, doing your diligence of surrounding, keeping sure that you're surrounded by good, security and just paying attention is really key.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like this world is a reactive world. They're not a proactive world. So how many children have to die or how many children have to become victim of trauma and in traumatic situations until these schools are doing something about it? Yeah. Especially here we have this well-known speaker and like goes to a college campus to talk to kids and then he's assassinated. Like, I mean, when is enough and when do extra precautions, and of course everyone can have their, oh, that was political, that was a setup, whatever. Either way, it was done on a college campus, period. And these kids are now traumatized who had seen it, whether it's true, not true, happened, this person, that's irrelevant.
I just feel like it's more of a mental health crisis versus anything. And I'm ignorant of the fact of what's being done on campuses now because I haven't been in school in so long. So there might be more security on college campuses. They might have these groups that you're talking about. I'm not really sure, but I do know that the more time passes and it's more about mental health. Like I feel like more people are mentally unstable, and the more mentally unstable they are, obviously the more crises are happening. Like the Charlie Kirk situation. And
that's where parents, parents really need to step up and speak to your children. Talk to them. Is there stuff bothering you? It does start with the parents as far as, how are you feeling at school? Are you overwhelmed? What's going on? How is your social life going? How is your relationship life going? Talk to your children and see how you can help. I mean, yes, I know myself as a child when I would be in situations, my parents were probably the last people I wanted to go to because obviously they're the ones that discipline as well. So you don't want to tell them personal things. But I mean, even family, sisters, brothers, aunts, like
Or
there's
school counselors, yeah.
like have them speak to these people, because it starts with something small and then it begins to become so big, and then they're just fighting their own demons, and that's how they think that they have to take it out on other people. And it really is, it boils down to mental health. And I feel like even that can become something bigger in these colleges, or even just high schools, any schools. Have people out there that talk to individuals on an emotional level. Like there should be some sort of, like you said, advocate that you could go to talk about anything. And it doesn't help either that like the health side of it, the health insurance, like I always feel like any type of specialty that you have with health insurance, you have to jump through hoops and cut off your arm in order to get any help. And there has to be some sort of advocacy out there, or even just look for coaches. There's life coaches all over that are willing to even just talk in a neutral situation, and as long as it doesn't become something legal. Like obviously if you go to a life coach and talk about child molestation, well, they have to report that because that's a minor. But as far as experiencing something that is eating away at you, like a lot of individuals that they don't want to say that they're gay, or women and men, like I know that becomes like a mental aspect for people, because they feel like they're not comfortable in their own skin or their own likes and dislikes. So absolutely, I mean, mental health is huge with that. And it's sad because I as well have gone through trauma, and the aftermath is exactly like you said, is 10 times worse than
the actual trauma.
Because now for the rest of your life, I'm sure you're still, I mean, it was 2 decades ago, and you're probably still looking over your shoulder, same with me. And at the end of the day, everyone's trauma is different, but really it's almost the same. It all boils down to, even though you had a breakup, you still were addicted to love, which is what an addict does. You know what I mean? It's and this one may have been domestic violence, where yours was someone coming in your home, which is a violent situation. So they all kind of do mirror some sort of connection with trauma. So first and foremost, I mean, you're not alone. Know that you're not alone. Know that there's probably so many people out here. Everyone doesn't, speak about everything they go through in life, but I can guarantee you, anyone that you reach out to that you are wanting help from, they probably have been in a similar situation that they can help, or at least guide you to where you can get help. And so basically this episode is more about awareness and, just getting don't sit in silence. Silence is basically empowering the traumatic individuals that do this type of trauma. Be empowering, speak out, talk to others, seek help, build a safer community within yourself and your surroundings, and know that, you're not alone, and that, you can talk to anybody and go to the school and say, hey, I'm requesting whatever, And I know, everyone's trauma, and I would never want to compare my trauma or your trauma to anyone else's trauma. But I even remember in my 20s when I worked for a bank, and we were robbed. I remember even then, here it wasn't even me as physical, the individual going into my home, it was at my job. But I remember even I was a single person living at home, and I was even scared then, because I thought, well, they saw my face, even though I couldn't really describe them because they were all masked up. But now are they gonna know where I lived? Are they gonna follow me home and jump out of my bushes when I'm leaving? It really does play a huge mental toll on you in just how you are in life. So reach out, definitely. And thanks so much for telling your story, and especially emphasizing things that people could do at schools, because you are by yourself. You're trying to get an education. You're trying to, concentrate on that. And especially in your situation with you went to the bars, you were old enough to go to the bars, and then here you are coming home. So now you're not even in a solid state of mind. Yes, I'm sure you weren't, wasted or nothing.
I work in the morning, so I'm very responsible.
But I mean, still, even one drink, you're not, it's not 0%, you know what I mean? So now you're,
I didn't expect to come home and to see an intruder in my home, for sure.
Exactly. And so being obviously in a completely sober state, you may have even thought different, who knows? You don't know what enticed the situation. And so just that in general, and again, it just boils down to being around your surroundings. So
being aware, being aware for sure. That's the biggest thing. The biggest takeaway is you always have to be on guard.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Kim. It was a pleasure having you. And
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today on Bottoms Up as we opened up a vital conversation about Safety Campus and the lasting impact of trauma. Kimberly's story is so powerful, reminding everyone that behind every headline, there's a human being, someone who deserves to be seen, heard, and believed. As we continue to navigate this world, let's remember that safety isn't just about checking doors or security cameras. It's about compassion, awareness, and community. Together, we can create spaces where survivors feel supported and students can truly thrive without fear. To anyone listening who has faced trauma or feels unsafe, please know that you are not alone. There is help, there's hope, and there's healing. Until next time, keep your hearts open, your minds aware, and remember, change begins when we're brave enough to talk about it, and safety always comes first.